I have it for. Okay, so this is it. This is week 2, and I'm going to start off by just pointing out to you some announcements that I've made for you for the week. And when you get a chance, go in and check them out. There are some links for script fonts here. I think you'll find them interesting because, again, you'll be able to take a look at some of the script fonts that are out there. I don't know whether all the script fonts that are on that link are free or not. Sylvia, did you actually go in and look at that yet?
I did, but I didn't try to download any.
Oh, okay. Did it? Because I didn't try to download any either. Because what I generally do is I generally download things as I need it. So if I'm working on something and I need a very specific type of script, I'll go and try to look for that script. And if I don't have a budget for it, I'll try to get something as close to it as possible for free. If I'm working for somebody and doing it as a project, obviously, I'm going to go and, I'm going to find the script that I want, and I'll get some examples of it to show them and then say, this is what the script is that I would like to use, and do you want to pay for it? And they vary in price. They can be anywhere from, I don't know, $8 to a couple of hundred, I guess. It depends on what it is and how comprehensive the script is. You know what I mean? If it has a lot of characters and weights and different things like that. So anyway, there are a bunch of really great scripts there, and some of them are really beautiful. And some of them are garbage. I mean, that's just like anything. It's just, you're going to go in and find ones that are incredibly beautiful and very well done, and others are just like crap. So, you don't download it. I know there are students I've known that have just downloaded everything that got in front of them, and they just had this huge collection of stuff. And I used to say to them, you got all that stuff, you probably don't even know half of what you got, and you probably don't use half of what you got, So you're much better off to just go in and download something specifically as it's required. That's what I generally do. But, of course, you do it your way. The other is additional links for script fonts, which I believe will take you to a Google page. And the Google page should open you up, and you should be able to look at images. And it will show you a bunch of alphabetical images that you can just kind of look at. And those are generic. There are all kinds of different sites. The first link is to a site. The other one, I believe, is to a Google area, which will show you a bunch of images of different fonts, which you can look at and go to that page and see other fonts. So that's what that is. Then the other thing I thought was kind of important, there's nothing telling me to do this, but it just seemed to make a great deal of logical sense to me, would be to get you guys a glossary of common type terminology. So I went out and I looked at about 6 or 7 web pages that talked type, and I picked the one that I thought was the easiest for you to navigate and work with, and I put that in there for you. Then there's information about your learning coach. Sylvia, do you know what a learning coach is?
Yeah, that's basically a tutor.
Yeah, she's my assistant. She's our assistant is what it is. And if you can't reach me, you have her information. You can try to reach her. And she also, I believe, is available in the Student Help Center from time to time. You'll see, I think she has all of her information on a posting that I've put into that announcement. And then the other one is Open Lab Schedule for you. So you know what Open Lab Schedule is, right, Sylvia?
Yes, I've been to it.
You have?
I went to the Open Lab with you last Tuesday.
Okay. Well, see what happens when you get senile? You forget all this stuff. Yeah, that's right. You were here Tuesday night. So anyway, that's what it is. That's what it is, exactly what it is. Open Lab is instructors' nights that they will be available to the students. So tomorrow night, from 5 o'clock to 7, I will be here and available to students in my class. And if you look at did you actually look at the Open Lab schedule, Sylvia? Did you take a look at what's on that yet?
Not for this week.
Okay. What did you for last week?
Yes.
Okay, so you notice that it doesn't just list me. It lists a bunch of different instructors and times and ways that you could access them as well. So like, for instance, on a Wednesday night, if you wanted to go to one of them, you could go to one of them. So I guess the point I'm trying to make here is that we're trying to give you every opportunity to get to somebody. So if you think about it, you got me. And if for some reason or other you can't get me, and I'm not available every single time you call, but I try to be available as much as possible. There's me, there is our learning coach, there is the Open Lab, which will give you access to a number of different student or instructors that can help you. And then, of course, there's Blackboard Collaborate, or the Student Help Center. So you really have the opportunity to get help if you want to get help. I'm not exactly sure why you ran into the problem you did last time in Blackboard Collaborate, where the instructor couldn't help you figure out what 70 to 90 character meant. I mean, that should have been something they should have been able to figure out pretty easily. Anyway, things happen. I've been stumped by people too. People come in and tell me things, and I couldn't figure out what it was that they were talking about because I maybe didn't teach that course and didn't have a knowledge of what they were trying to accomplish, and it wasn't completely clear to me when it was described to me. So these things happen. But anyway, that's what these announcements are, and I just, again, want to point out to you that there are plenty of opportunities for you to get help if you need help. So, take advantage of all these opportunities. Any questions?
No.
No. Good. All right, so that's that. Let me go to our discussions next real quickly. Let's go to discussions. And this week's discussion is peer review. So, Sylvia, since you're here, you're my target for the night. I apologize for that. I'm going to be picking on you all night. Okay. What is a peer review, Sylvia?
A peer review is when you have other students looking at your assignments and critiquing them. Yeah,
that's right. Exactly right. So what we're going to be doing this week is peer review. What I also would like to be doing tonight, and Sylvia was kind enough to submit her work for my review, is I'm going to be doing a review as well. I will also be happy to do a review next week of any work that you want to submit to me. I actually have one other student with you, Sylvia, that has submitted. And there is a third student that has indicated he wants me to do a review, but he hasn't got the work in yet. So I can't really review it because he hasn't got it in yet. He hasn't submitted anything yet, So, and that brings me to another point. I just want to remind everybody, you people will be allowed to submit late work up until the end of week 3. On week 4, there will be no late work submissions. That's clear, right, Sylvia?
Correct.
Now, if you submit something to me, and if I look at the submission, and I generally try to do this, if I look at the submission and I give you notes on the submission, Sylvia, when I critiqued your work, when I graded you, right, I gave you some things that I wanted you to achieve to get a better grade, correct?
Correct.
Or were they fairly clear?
Yes.
Okay. I try to be clear, and I try to be concise, and I try to be fair. And I also, I'm sorry, go ahead.
And then I fixed them and turned it back in, and I got a better grade.
Right. Well, that's because that's what I told you to do, and you gave me no trouble. You went and did it, and you understood where I was coming from and did it, and we had no problem. My point is, why I'm talking about this briefly, is I also wanted you to know that even though I don't want you people making up work week 4, if I specifically say week 3 that I want you to resubmit something, here's how I want you to fix it, resubmit it, that's a different story. I will allow you to go into week 4 if I'm telling you to resubmit something, because I will give you a better grade, which is what I would generally say. If I look at something, you've done something wrong, I'll tell you, I'll try to explain to you as clearly as I can what I think you did wrong, and I'll tell you that I'm going to give you this grade. It's going to be a lower grade if you correct it and submit it to me and let me know, send me an email, let me know that you submitted it. I will improve your grade based on the performance of how you improved it. And I think you did very well, and I gave you full credit, right?
Right.
Pretty much?
Correct.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm not trying to be unfair, but again, I got a lot of people in my class, and the bottom line is everybody is different. Some people are much better than others. It's very difficult for an instructor to to take each individual person on their own and try to kind of tailor things for everybody. It's difficult. I have to look very carefully at what you guys are doing and try to evaluate where I think you are. Some of you people are a little more advanced than others, so I would expect them to be able to gather their thoughts clearer and quicker. The others might have more trouble. So I have to try to figure all this out. It can be very difficult. But the bottom line is that when I give you the option of correcting something, even if it's like, say, Saturday or, yes, let's say Saturday of week 3, you submit something, I check it and say, I'm going to grade you such and such. You did this and that and the other thing incorrectly. Could you please go in and modify this, that, and the other thing? If you do, I will up your grade. You then may proceed to go into week 4 to correct it. Does that make sense to you, Sylvia?
Yes.
Because I've invited you to correct the submission. You see my point?
Right.
But if you go week 3, the end of the day, what's it? The end of the day, Saturday is the last day that you submit, and you don't submit the end of the day, week 3, anything that you have not submitted at that point, you're not going to be able to submit it. That's a different story. That's just you were late. You just didn't get it in. And I can't give you the extended time on week 4. I can only do it on weeks 2 and week 3. So there's 2 different things going on here, and I just want to make sure everybody's absolutely clear on that because, again, I don't want anybody to feel like I'm being unfair. I do everything in my power to be fair. I know this is not easy for anybody. I didn't even have I went to a very good school. I got a scholarship for art. But I didn't have the opportunity to learn any computer when I went to school because there was no such thing as computers when I went to school, okay? So I had to learn all this by myself, and I was raising a family at the time, and I couldn't afford to go to school. I couldn't afford to spend the money to go to school. I had to learn on my own, and if it wasn't that a very generous friend of mine who owned a small business allowed me to come in and use one of his computers and learn by myself. He couldn't even teach me because he couldn't afford to take the time off of his own work. I went in on my own and sat and learned, and it was torturous. It really was incredibly torturous, even with all that I knew about graphic design, because learning these programs were just completely foreign to the way I had done work in the past. So I appreciate that. It's not easy. It's not the easiest thing to do. And that's why I'll try to work with you any way I can. And I do try to do demonstrations that at least cover part of what you're doing so that you can look at what I'm doing and use that as a way of determining what you got to do. Now, last week I put in a number of very quick little videos to play around with how you could modify text. Did you look at them, any of them, Sylvia?
Yes.
Did any of them, were they helpful at all? I mean, was it like a waste of time what I did, or were they helpful in any way to you?
Well, I looked at them, so.
Okay. But I mean, did you find that they were able to help you in any way? Did they give you anything that was new to you or helpful?
I don't know. I don't remember.
Okay. I just wondered. Anyway, I did that simply because I've had in the past people a little concerned that, you know, this is a 2-hour session. It's going to run 2 hours. And a lot of it's going to be talking, and a lot of it's going to be me not demonstrating things. So, you know, when I do something very specific like that, I try to periodically go in and make a couple of little quick videos that I could put in there.
Oh, yeah, yeah, I watched those. And I actually re-watched the class, the whole thing again.
Yeah, but it's 2 hours. It's a long thing to do, and that's great that you did that.
Too. I did that. You know, I just kind of like skipped forward to what I wanted.
Okay. All right. Well, that's good that you do that. That's fine. That's fine. But I also, like I say, I also try to do these little quick videos periodically just to put them in there so that, you know, you can kind of look at something that only takes 2 minutes or 3 minutes. You see what I mean? Instead of something that takes 2 hours, this is a 2-minute video, and bing, bang, boom, it's quick, you know? So it also gives me practice demonstrating stuff, because, you know, it's not the easiest thing to do to try to teach somebody and demonstrate something at the same time. Usually when you're doing work like this, it requires a certain level of concentration. And, you know, I'm trying to concentrate on you guys as much as I possibly can and to work at the same time. And it gets conflicted. It can be a little conflicted. So, all right. So let's get back to the peer review. So anyway, before we get back to the peer review, I will review 2 people tonight, Sylvia and one other person. Can't think of their name right now. I would like to also say to you all, please, if you would like a review next week, please contact me via email. And let Sylvia, right? You contacted me and said, yes, I will, Bill, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So all I ask you to do is, in other words, I don't want to go just grab your work and bring your work in here and start reviewing your work. I would prefer to have you people say to me, Bill, please review my work. I do it on a volunteer basis. I don't do it a mandated basis. If the school starts telling me to do it on a mandated basis, then I will do so. But as it stands right now, I do it on a volunteer basis. I highly recommend that you allow me to critique it, because you're going to find, as a graphic designer, you will be continually critiqued. And that's not a bad thing. It's part of the design process, and you should be used to things like that. And one way is to have somebody who is on your side, somebody who's your friend, and I'm not here to hurt you. I'm not here to give you a bad time. I'm here to help you and make you pass this class. That's what I'm here to do. And when I do review your work, I will try to be objective about it and positive, you know. And even when I'm pointing something that is negative out, it's not done in anger, or it's not done in with vindictiveness. It's just basically to tell you, look, you know, this is where you should stay away from, and this is where you should go. So I highly recommend that everybody come in, send me an email, and come in and join the review next week. You will do this peer review this week. It is absolutely mandatory that you do that. So it's imperative that you follow these directions carefully. It is 3 parts. You're going to post a JPEG or a PNG of 3 of your logos from assignment 1. Now you don't have to post all of them. What I would recommend that you do is you make hard decisions, maybe based on any input I might have given you and your own feeling of which particular pieces you think are your strongest pieces. Since there's 3 different companies that you're doing the logos for, I'm pretty safe in assuming that since they want 3, they want 1 of each. So you're going to put in the best one of all 3 of them. And
we actually did 4, Bill.
Oh, there were 4? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think we did a total of 8 submissions. 2 for
That's right. You're right. No. Oh, you're right. You're absolutely right. I was wrong. There was 4. Yes. So pick your top 3. Pick your top 3. The ones that you like best, the 3 that you like best, put them in. The one thing that I think is kind of important is that you also explain why you did what you did. What was the thinking behind it? Try to be as clear as you possibly can. Your thinking, what was it that drove you to make the choices that you made with it? And be as clear as you can. And you will be getting input from different people. And I'm sure that the input will probably be friendly. Once your post is complete, you're going to go in and suggest at least 2 comments for other people's works. Now listen, this is important because some of you aren't doing this. Excuse me. The main topic post, which will be your 3 logos, should be posted no later than Wednesday, end of the day. Absolutely get them in Wednesday. And again, you don't have to write you don't have to write 200 words about why you did what you did, but write enough that you give some idea to the people who are looking at your work why you did what you did. Give them something to think about aside from the visual or the image itself. And then what you're going to do is on 2 different days, see it says here, you're going to go in and comment on 2 other people's work. So since this is a discussion, this gets down to what a discussion really is. Last week when you did your discussion, the rules were, if you played along properly, that you put your main topic in by end of the day Wednesday, and on 2 different days, you would put in a comment, one to one student and one to another. Part of the reason that I'm asking you to do it that way is because I want to see that you have enough interest in the class to at least spend a few minutes here and the next day and the next day coming in to make a comment. That's part of what I'm looking to see. That's part of why I grade the way I do. I want to see that you have enough motivation to come into the course and spend a few minutes, because it usually doesn't. I mean, you did it right, Sylvia. Does it take much more than a few? Your main post is one thing, of course. You have to work that out. Now, that'll take you a few minutes more. But when you go in to make a comment, that doesn't take you very long, does it?
Writing, 2 to 3 sentences.
Yeah, so what do you think, that maybe 15 minutes tops to do something like that?
Right.
So you're looking at some point in one day of coming in for 15 minutes to do that, and then some point on another day for 15 minutes to go and do that again. That's really all it is. And, I cannot accept last-minute posting. I can't do it. If I accepted last-minute posting and if everybody did it, we would never have a discussion. We would have just a bunch of people at the last minute putting in their comments. So, I mean, I appreciate the fact that you're trying to put it in and all, but you are not going to get higher grades for it because you're posting at the last minute. And now this is week 2 and I'm mentioning it again. And I guarantee there'll be some student that will write at the end of the mod that Bill repeated himself a lot. The reason I repeat myself is because people need to repeat for me to make sure that they understand not to do things or to do things, okay? Now, the third one I think is the most important thing for you is to consider the feedback that you get. You're going to choose the logo that you will use for this week's invitation. Make some revisions to improve your design and post the chosen refined version below your original post. So in other words, you're going to take one of your logos. I don't even think it's telling you that you have to do all 3. All it's saying is you're going to take one of them that perhaps you think is your most viable logo and deal with any refinements that you are asked to consider. And that could be to either ignore it or to maybe include it. I have no way of knowing what they're going to say, so I can't tell you whether you're going to consider it to be a viable solution or not. Does that make sense to you, what I'm saying, Sylvia, about this?
Yes.
In other words, you don't know what their comment's going to be, and it may not be a valid comment in your mind. So if it's something and this is another very real part of what happens when you're a designer. You're going to go in and you're going to have what are known as stakeholders. Have you ever heard that term before, a stakeholder?
Or your client.
A client is a stakeholder, right? It could be any person involved in the process other than you. That's what a stakeholder is. And they use that general term, so keep that term in your mind because it's a valuable graphic design term that you could use to make you sound very knowledgeable about what you're doing. So anybody that is involved in the process becomes a stakeholder, and they have the right to come in and talk to you about this. And usually you know in advance who these stakeholders will be. And, again, they will come in and suggest things, and there could very possibly be a negotiation that goes on, a discussion, a debate, until you arrive at a conclusion. Does the stakeholders' criticism hold water? Is it valid? Is it something that you really want to act upon? And that's usually worked out in the process of a meeting with the stakeholders, which goes on, which is a review, a critique. That's exactly why I want people to come in and critique with me, because this is something that you're going to go through. And you have to be able to prepare yourself to be able to deal with stakeholders who are questioning your thinking on any particular aspect of what you're doing. You need to be ready to do that. So you're going to get as close as we can give you using this peer review to do that. So that's why, as I say, take a look at what they're telling you to do and think about it. Revise it and remember too that I think what it's saying here, we want to learn a lot from seeing the before and after. So in the end, what you're going to do is you're going to modify the image, and you're going to show the image as well as the image before your modifications were made. Okay?
Oh, okay.
So, you know, and then it tells you how to go about embedding the images. And I don't know, do you understand how to do that?
Yeah, I've done that before.
Okay, so you have no problem with that. All right, so if any of you, though, because there's only Sylvia here, Sylvia knows how to do it, obviously. Any of you do not know how to do that, there's me. There is your learning coach. There is the Tuesday night, Wednesday night, Thursday night instructors that are in. You have that posting. And there's also Blackboard. Any one of those people should be able to help you do this. Any one of those opportunities should be giving you somebody that will be able to help you do this. Okay? So that's it. Now, let's go to assignment. Oh, any questions? We good?
We're good.
Okay. I think that's pretty much all of it, you know? And so let's go back to assignments real quick. I'm going to very quickly go to the assessment first, because the last thing I'll do is go to the assignment, which is the grand opening, which is what I'm going to work on tonight. So assessment. Now, this is the research that you're going to do for your final project. Now, let me explain to you very quickly what the final project is going to be. Final project is going to be a 2-page layout, a magazine spread, a layout which you're going to design in InDesign, and it is going to be on one of the typeface families that you have in your approved required typeface list. Okay, so essentially what you're going to do this week is you're going to go into Google, and you're going to Google one of the font families, and you're going to try to find out as much information as you can about that font family and who's responsible for it. Anything you can find out about who made it. I chose Bodoni, and I will show you before the end of the night what I've done. I just basically went up and looked for Bodoni, and I grabbed, it's telling you that it wants you to write 550 to 750 word research paper. I would very much like you to title your submission, and I would like you to also remember that you are going to be doing research on this. Sylvia, I'm absolutely sure that you don't know enough about any of these typefaces to give me 550 to 750 words off at the top of your head. You know why I know that's true? Because I couldn't even do it. I couldn't even do it. I couldn't even go in and give you 500 to 750 words on Bodoni. I had to go in and do research on it. So if I have to do it, you have to do it. So you're going to research one that you choose, and you're going to submit 550 to 750 word research paper, titled and named appropriately. And what I would like you also to do is to make sure that, since this is research, and since you will be going in and researching, that you do all the APA referencing and citations that's required for your document to be properly formed. Is that clear?
Yes.
All right. So it tells you Microsoft Word. Let's see what else we got here. Text from this report will be the content for your final assignment, which will be, as I just said, a magazine spread. I will show you that in weeks to come. I'm not going to show you that tonight, but what I will do is I will show you my Microsoft Word document, just to give you an idea of what I did. And it is telling you to submit in Microsoft Word format. You have no problem with that, do you, Sylvia? Know Word enough to do that?
Oh, yeah, that'd be fine.
Good. And you also know that you can embed images into Microsoft Word. So I would also recommend that, since you are graphic designers, you need to start acting like graphic designers and realize that graphic designers are a visual animal, and you need to start including visuals in what you do. So start thinking in terms of sourcing images that will support your contention or your argument or your debate in your 550 to 750 word research paper. Okay, so I'm looking for you to do very professional looking. And here's another thing I want. I'm going to give you a little bit heads up on this. Okay, what is this research paper going to end up being, Sylvia?
You said it was going to be
right here. Right here. What does it say?
A magazine spread.
That's right. So there's a little thing for you to think about. You're going to be creating a magazine spread.
I was going to say a bifold.
Yeah, if you submit images in your research paper, then your images are available to be included into your magazine spread. I'm not sure that I would allow you to submit images in if you don't submit them within the context of your research document. In other words, what I'm looking to see is I'm looking to see the content that you propose to use to design your magazine spread. I think that makes logical sense, right?
Right.
Okay. So that's it, and you're going to submit me a doc file. And that's that. Any questions?
No.
No? All right. So then finally, that brings us to our assignment, which is, let's go in and quickly look at that, the grand opening. So what you're going to be doing is you're going to be designing an invitation. This invitation, even though, excuse me, even though it's going to be a full color, it's going to be a full process color project. Because this is a type class, the requirements are that you do not use images. Somewhere it says that here. Let's see here. Letter mark from last week, full color. No pictures or graphics can be used. Now, it's absolutely highly unlikely that you're going to be ever creating something where you don't use pictures or graphics. I mean, but just for this, because it's a type, this is a type course, we're trying to focus on no pictures or graphics. So you're going to, you can use color, and you can use your type creatively, but that's basically what this is going to be. It's going to be your logo, type, and maybe some color. That's what we're looking for. I've produced one where I cheated a little bit, but then, you know, I always do, which I may actually recreate and do without cheating, because I want to correct one little thing that I did, because, again, as I said, I cheated slightly. You'll see in a minute what I'm talking about. But yeah, so you're going to use one of your businesses and one of your letter marks. What I would recommend that you do is keep in mind that if you're going to do this, Sylvia, you can go right ahead and do it with your unrefined logo. But keep in mind that you're going to be refining the logo. And in the end, what you're going to do is substitute your logo out. Also, keep in mind that last week when you worked on the logo, what colors did you use, Sylvia?
All white and black.
All right, black and white. Here, you're allowed to go color crazy, okay? You can go 4-color process, CMYK. So you can go in and you can create as many colors as you want using CMYK color, okay? And that means the logo. You can use multiple colors in your logo as well. Only last week, when you were doing the first round drafting of your logos, we wanted it to go in black and white. There's a very good reason for that too. I've been doing this for years, and I don't do logos all the time. They're very specialized, and there's a lot of it being done, but there's an awful lot of very, very powerful people that do it. And a lot of times the big money jobs go to those people. But every once in a while, I do get logos to do. One of the things that I was trained to do from day one was whenever I was working on anything that was like a logo, a symbol, a graphic, I was always trained that you start off your work in black and white. Everything that you do should be in black and white. If you can make something work 100% beautifully in black and white, it should look 10 times better once you get it there. So it's very important that you understand there's a reason that we had you do it in black and white, because it is the absolute best way to work on something. You can add color anytime you want. Whenever you're working on some sort of a graphic, a logo especially, great idea to start it in black and white and then, you know, gradually move into the color. Okay?
Okay.
So that's that. I guess you have no questions on that, really. You're going to see me actually demonstrate this. Oh, actually, please design your grand opening invitation for one of these clients. There's your clients. Now, here's the thing that I want to point out to you, because I missed this at first. They give you a copy here. They give you a copy. Here's the copy. So you're going to use this copy, okay? Not this down here. Remember, this is a typography class. It's an important aspect of the invitation. Recommend sketchy ideas, little research, have fun. No. Give special attention to the no. What I'm talking about is this stuff right here. That's the copy that you're going to use. So as you can see, there isn't a whole lot of copy there. So, you know, you're going to have a bit of a job coming up with something. But again, you're a designer, and it's part of the challenge to be structured and to be limited. You know, you don't always have assignments that they're so rich with information and so rich with elements that you have an easy time with it. A lot of times people will give you an assignment to do something and half don't know what they want. Or if they do know what they want, they're not really very clear on expressing it. Or if they need copy, they're very raw in the way they give you the copy, and it's not structured well. So, you know, you have to kind of be able to ease through all that stuff and make it happen. So that's the copy, very important. The other thing that you're going to have on it is your logo, and then you're going to have color. So color, copy, and logo. All right?
Okay, my question is,
go ahead.
It says choose one, but that's for the client, I mean, whoever the invitation's for them to choose one. We're supposed to use everything you have in blue there as the full invitation.
Yeah, that's the invitation information, and what you would do ultimately is just tailor it ever so slightly to make it work for your particular choice.
Okay.
You know, I mean, it's going to be, they're still going to have a celebration. It's still going to be a concert, so they don't change any of that. The dates are not going to change. Reserve your seat isn't going to change. 21 or older isn't going to change. Seating is limited. All that's good. I think the only place that you have to think about it is the first line. You are cordially invited to grand opening of our new store branch location. Choose one. You see what I mean? And if it's a bank, you might say our new branch. If it's a store, our new store, and then the location. Okay.
I see.
And then you'll just tailor it that. You're going to see me do it. I'm going to do it. Sherry's here. Hello, Sherry. How you doing tonight?
Good. How are you?
Okay. Everything okay with you?
Yes.
Yeah. You having any trouble with the class so far?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, no. I wondered if, no, I don't. You're not having any trouble with me. I'm asking if you're having any problems or any issues that you want to mention to me real quickly.
No.
Good. Okay. Yeah. So that's it. And again, I'm not going to go into any more with this right now because I want to ultimately show you how to play with this a little bit. And then I just want to make sure, though, that you understand what you're doing. You know, ultimately, oh, and let's quickly go back to this. The size of this here, 5 by 5 by 8.5. So it's, what that is ultimately, it's an 8.5 by 11 cut in half. That's essentially what it is. A 5 by 5 by 8.5 is half of an 8.5 by 11. You know that, right?
Yes.
And you could go portrait or landscape. To be totally honest with you, I mean, you could do whatever you want. You're the creative person here, but I would probably recommend landscape. That's how I did it. You're going to use one of your logos. You're going to choose one of your businesses and choose your logo. And again, as I was saying before you came in, Sherry, you know, you could put the logo from last week in place just to get you started if you want to start on this. And then after you make the modifications, your final modification to your lettermark, the one that you're going to actually put into the peer review. After you get that done, then you can just bring it in. Keep it in black and white. I doubt very much anybody is going to be talking color yet. You know what I mean? I don't think anybody in the peer review is going to be telling you color things or anything, because you're not submitting things in color, or at least you shouldn't be. I think actually, Sylvia, did you submit in color?
Just gray and white.
Okay, all right. You did the first submission though, right?
No,
Oh, okay.
I still stayed with this white, gray, and
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I actually, the other student did it. I thought maybe it was you. The other student did. I mean, the only reason I'm going to show it is because I wanted to point out to people that, you know, no color should be used, and also no graphics. But I'll get to that in a minute. So, yeah, okay, so that's it. So, Sherry, we've talked about the peer review. You'll have to watch that in the recording. We talked about our assessment.
Okay.
And we now just sort of roughly talked about the invitation, which I will be demonstrating tonight. The next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go in and I'm going to do a review of a couple of submissions. And then after that, I'm going to go in and I'm going to redo my grand opening invitation. And I'm going to end with my showing you my research paper. So that's where I'm heading. Okay?
okay.
All right. Okay, so let's go to, what happened here? Oh, this is InDesign. This is the wrong one. Let me go to Illustrator. Here we go. Okay, before I actually, you know what? Let me do these first. So let's do Sylvia's. Here's Sylvia's. Okay, these are Sylvia's submissions. Now, remind me, Sylvia, the first time you submitted them, I think what you had to fix, now I remember, you submitted each one on its own page. And I ended up with like 8 different PDFs, right?
Correct.
Right. So really all you had to do was to go in and take all 8 of them and double them up onto one page, which is what you did here. Okay. So what you did is exactly what I wanted you to do. You
It looks
gave
somewhat different than it did on my paper. Like the J, S, and T are not spaced the same way I had it on mine.
I'm
On
not sure why that. I'm not sure why that would happen.
and then the J, S, and T that are stacked on top of each other, the J intertwined in the S, and you can't see that the white showing through.
I think it's the view. I think it's the
I
view.
think it's the quality.
I think it's the view. I think it's the view of the document. If I zoom in on this thing, I think you'd see it's probably much better. See, I'll bring it in to where
Yeah, there you go.
see it's much better that way. But it's the view. When you go view, fit, artboard, and window, it, you know. Remember, we're looking at 72 DPI. These screens are probably showing me things in 72 DPI. So, you know, it's not as crisp as it should be. Even though this is vector art, it's still being displayed as a bitmap. So you get a little fuzziness out of it. So, okay, so yeah, I like what you did in all cases. The first thing I will say to you is that you did stay away from using graphic shapes, which is good. You did stay in black and white. And you didn't just submit letters. Like, for instance, I had a number of students do this. I'm going to type something on yours. So J, S, T. Okay, believe it or not, I actually had students who, I'm going to make this, if I can, a little bit bigger so you can see what I'm talking about here. I actually had students submit me things like this, JST, and that's their logo. And the problem with that is that you don't need a graphic designer to do that. I mean, you could get any office worker could do that. You could get somebody who has no training whatsoever with Adobe Illustrator could do that. The whole art in being a designer is taking those letters and doing things with the letters. Not everything is going to work out beautifully, but what I'm looking for is not success 100% of the time. What I'm looking for is I'm looking for experimentation. I'm looking for your effort. I'm looking to see that you tried things. Win or lose, you've tried. That's what I'm really looking for. The only way that you're going to become better in two ways, as a designer and with this program, is to play with it. And doing an exercise like this requires a certain amount of thinking and playing. Now, Sylvia, this is your submission, right?
Yes.
Am I right? You had to think through a process with each one of your designs to come up with something to do with them, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. Wasn't easy, was it?
No.
No. And as a matter of fact, it's quite challenging because, again, you know, not every letter or letter pair wants to be happy with one another. You know what I mean? It's like some of them go together beautifully and others just like fight you no matter what you do, right?
Right.
Right. Now, the most important thing for any of you to understand here is that we are not supposed to distort these letters. Now, the question, I guess, is did Sylvia, Sylvia, I'm all confused now. Sylvia, did Sylvia distort the letters? Well, I honestly don't think she did, because to be truthful with you, a distortion of a letter in my mind would be something along the lines of that. That's a distortion. You know, this is a distortion, okay? If you put things in perspective, that's even a distortion, right? This text is not, it's not outline text, so I can't really put a perspective in it. I'd have to outline it, and I'm not going to bother. I'm just going to get rid of it. But you get the idea. You don't want to distort the text. Now, what Sylvia did here, let me ask you this. Let me ask you this, and you tell me what you think. Let's go view, zoom out. Would you say that JST, would you say that is a distortion?
No.
Who's that, Sherry?
Yes.
Why not, Sherry? Do you have a particular reason why you think not? I'm not trying to give you a hard time. I'm just, you know, wondering why you would think it's not a distortion. Because I agree with you.
Because it's intertwined. It's not stretched in either direction.
Exactly.
Exactly.
What's going on here? There's no real distortion there. There's an interaction. There's a difference between distortion and interaction. Okay? What you're doing is you're playing around with the positioning of these elements, and you're creating an interaction with them, a ligature. That's sort of what this is. It's essentially a ligature. It's not truly a ligature, because a ligature, like where the I meets the S and joins, that's a ligature. Okay, this is a wrapping of the elements, and Sylvia, you'll remember we worked on that for about 15 minutes.
Right, because I didn't know how to make the white show up.
Right.
Just over the area of the J where I wanted it to.
Exactly, and we had to play with it a bit, didn't we, to get it to where it looked right?
Right.
Yeah, so it was one of these things that took a little bit of work to do. But it is not a distortion. Okay, so that's the thing that I'm trying to point out. You can go in and you can carve things up and you can modify them, hide parts of them, and some people would argue, well, that's a distortion. But it's technically not a distortion. It's basically what you're doing is you're playing with the letter form, not distorting it. Okay, I think a distortion in the particular case of what we're dealing with here would be what I demonstrated a minute ago, where you stretched it or pulled it. You know, you're not really distorting the overall shape itself. What you're doing is you're carving it up and you're doing things with it to make it more interesting. I guess that's the best way I can describe it. That's allowed. Because, again, that's what graphic designers do. They take things...
Well, I would have thought of something. I could have turned the T upside down and made the other curl at the bottom of the T go through the S.
You could try that. I mean, you could try that. I'm not sure how that would read an upside-down T, but, you know, you could certainly try it. That's the point. You still could
look at it, yeah, to see.
Yeah, you could try it and see. I mean, I doubt very much it would take you too long to do something like that. So, yeah, you could definitely look at that, you know. Now, the next one here, and by the way, this one I think works very well. So it would be, in my opinion, Sylvia, you got two here. And this one is okay, but, and I like what you did with the S. Again, you know, you're almost going to the point where you're breaking the law, okay? But I think I know how you did it. I think what you did is you used another S with a couple of S's with strokes on them, and then what you used the one S as a clipping path.
I just did a S with the white over it. This is a white. But the
How'd you get those white lines in the S like that?
Just another S over it.
So if this were selected, let me go in and select it then. Hold on. Is it a bitmap? What did you do with this?
It almost looks like a 7 at the bottom.
Hold on, let's go object. Let's go ungroup. Yeah, so there's, okay, there it is. Control Z, Control Z. All right, so this is somehow or other this got rasterized. This got rasterized. Those lines are rasterized. I'm not sure how that'll work. It might work okay. Let me try something. Let me drag a shape out here.
Well, what I wanted was, because it's the name is a jumping spider, I wanted a spider web, but you can't do that.
No. Well, you can, but it would be, the problem is doing that, you would then violate the terms of the agreement, which is to not put graphics into this. I just go object, arrange. Let me just see something here. Arrange, send to back. Okay, so there, you see what's going on here? That S is there. So probably what you could do, let me see if this would work. I'm going to lock this. Let's go object, lock, selection. Okay, so this, you would have a problem with this logo, and I'll tell you why. Because while this works really nice on black, the moment you try to put this into something else like a red color, your logo will fail. You see what's happening here?
Yeah.
Okay, so there is a way you might be able to deal with this. And that would be to go edit copy and then go edit paste in front. Okay, so now I've pasted that S in front of the other S behind it, which is the black S and the white S. Okay? Do you understand what I've done?
Okay.
All right, and I'm going to select, so now there are two black S's there. One is in front of everything and one is in back of everything. And then in between them sandwiched is that white
line.
Okay, so I got the red thing locked. Now, there's a reason I'm doing this. I want that S to just be reading, and I'm hoping that this is going to work. I'm going to select all three of those S's, that big bitmap thing there and those two S's. And I'm going to go object, clipping mask, make. And you see what I just did?
Oh, okay.
So now
they're all
what I did was I used that top S as a clipping mask. Do you know what a clipping mask is?
Yeah, it's just letting certain things show through.
Yeah, it's sort of like creating a S-shaped window. And all you're seeing now is through that S-shaped window. Instead of seeing all the rest of that letter, the white letter S and the black, which is still black, now you're just seeing that line. Now your logo works, okay? So
Okay.
that's the one step that you would need to finalize your logo, to make your logo a working logo. Now, what I would do at this point is I would be playing around with the positioning of your other elements. I don't know how you do that. You'd have to fool with this a little bit. I'm going to just, I think I got to go object, arrange, send to back. Yeah, you get that J in the front. Oops, no, I didn't get the J in the front. Let's go, where's my J? I go object, arrange, send to back. Now. All right, object, lock, selection. All right, now let's bring that forward. Come on. Oops, object, unlock all. Let's go select next object below. It's not doing it.
Just delete the red box, and then you'll get it back.
No, I don't think the red box is the problem. I think it's that bitmap is in the way. I'm going to have to move that. Oh, that J is on it. Okay, I see what the deal is. That thing became part of a bitmap as well. All right, well, if that's the case, then I'll just move that. What I'm saying to you is that you need to maybe play around with these.
That's how it is on mine. The J and the S are touching just like that.
What?
On mine, the J and the S are touching just like that. I don't
Well,
know why.
Yeah,
J-
that's a more viable solution. Okay. So fit artboard window. So really all I did here was, and again, my point is that as a graphic designer, you have to think bigger. You have to think bigger. You have to say to yourself, okay, now that I've got this logo, what's going to happen when I try to put that logo against something like a different color? And you have to explore that, just like I did. I immediately thought to myself, how did she do that S? And is that S going to work if that S actually gets on, gets into production? And I noticed that if I put something behind it, I saw that that wasn't going to work. So I then had to think of a way to make it work. And the nice thing about Illustrator, and why I want you to create artwork in Illustrator, especially artwork like this, is because you can do these things and it is resolution independent, which means essentially now I can make those letters as big or as small as I want. Okay, and again, you have the ability to do these really great creative things in Illustrator, like what I just did with the clipping mask, which you saw it took no effort whatsoever. It was just, what, 2 little moves, right?
Right.
Yeah, and now you got a nice S that works with those letters. Okay, so, again, those two work really nice. Your B and L, they're interesting. I'm not too keen on the one on the left there. I think it's a little bit...
Yeah, that also looks different than it does on my paper.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure. I'm getting, you know what I mean? I'm not sure I'm getting something that's crystal enough. You know what I mean? Even though the one B and L on the right is very blasé. I mean, it's got a nice drop shadow and everything. At least it works, and that's something that you could probably use. And even though you have a drop shadow on there, it's allowed. You know why? Because it's not a graphic shape. It's the letters turned upside down and made into a drop shadow. So I can allow that. You see what I mean? In other words, you're basically still doing things with letters here that don't violate the conditions of the assignment, right?
Right.
Right. Okay. So now the TIB, I like the TIB. I don't think you need the drop shadow on the B. I don't think that makes any sense at all, have just one drop shadow like that. So I would say that if anything, get rid of that and explore the relationships of the ligature that you're using with the TIB. I think if you are pure with that, the TIB, that would be better. Yeah,
Okay.
and it's interesting. I mean, trying to think here. Yeah, it's interesting. It might work. I think if you just got rid of that lowercase
The
b.
shadow. Yeah, the shadow. Get rid of the shadow.
Yeah, the drop shadow b. Get rid of that. I think that would be better. So that's a pretty good one. And your TIB, the other one is good too. I just think probably a tiny bit of tweaking on this one, maybe. Like, I don't know, maybe if you just were to move this over a little bit, I think it's probably just placement. See, I think that actually looks a little bit better.
Right.
I kind of like it. And you did cheat here. You did cheat. But, Sylvia, you remember how we did that, right?
Right. We extended it.
What we did not add an element, did we?
No.
No, what we did was, Sherry, you didn't see this. This was Tuesday night. Sylvia came in and we worked on these together. Tuesday night, what happened, Sherry, was we went in there, we outlined these letters, and we added anchor points to you see the little serif, the little foot there?
I do.
Yeah, we added a couple of anchor points with the pen tool, add anchor point tool. And then we selected the 2 end pieces and we left arrowed it over until it ran right into the T and created a ligature. So if we were to put, if you were to come in here and take that B let's see, it may be grouped. Is it grouped object or is it bitmapped? You know why it might be bitmapped? Oh, here we go. Watch this. You see what we're talking about? So actually, let's go edit undo. Yeah, oh, edit undo. Now I got to go back. I'm not going to bother. Anyway, I can do it this way. There we go. Okay, so yeah, so that's basically the letter B. So once again, we were able to create an interesting ligature mark, an interesting combination of letters using just letters, which is really what we're trying to do. Okay, let's go view fit all in window again. And I actually like both of your choices down here as well. I like everything that you did here. I'm wondering to myself whether or not you really need those letters to be in gray. I am not exactly sure that if you had them all in black, they wouldn't be just as successful.
I see.
So I don't know why you bothered putting the gray on them. I might not have. I might, and as a matter of fact, let's see. Let's just quickly see. Let me, if I can maybe grab these things, and let's make it black. Let's see what they look like in black, because I have a feeling it'll be just as good in black. Yeah, what's wrong with that? You know, I like it. Interesting. Interesting. You know, again, I think you might want to play around with this a little bit. You might want to.
I'll put that one as one of my submissions for this week.
Yeah, you might want to tweak it just a slight bit, you know.
And then have other people make comments on it.
Maybe just tweak it slightly. How about that? You see what I did?
Mm-hmm.
I actually moved the T over a little bit, and I actually moved the C over a little bit so that you got even spacing here and even spacing there. Now, it does create a ligature with the P, but that's okay. I think that actually looks very nice like that, you know? It's kind of like a slightly old worldy kind of look, which is interesting for a computer, instead of something which is very it reminds me more of like an Art Nouveau kind of a look, whereas this thing here looks like arts and crafts kind of look. Do you know what Art Nouveau and arts and crafts are?
No, but
they're graphic design styles. Graphic design styles from the early 1900s. This is very arts and craftsy, and I like this an awful lot. Again, I just don't know why you bothered making it gray. I think black is just fine.
They're all black on that one.
Oh, they were? How come they were gray? I don't know why they look like they were gray.
No,
no,
not on that one.
Yeah, you actually did a very fine job with all of these. You really did. You did a very fine job with all of them. So if I were you, I would certainly use all of these, or at least the Paramount Computer ones and the Italian one and the what?
You can only do 3.
No, I'm saying I would use all of them in your portfolio ultimately.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I would definitely, because you know the other thing too is you're looking to do portfolio pieces, and I would definitely use these letter marks as portfolio pieces. Just make sure that these 2 letters, I can't say for sure that they are, I think they are. Just make sure that these 2 letters here are lining up. Let's go to the view menu. Let's go rulers, show rulers. Let me drag a guide out. Make sure that those letters are hitting, and they are, okay? I just want to make sure that they're hitting vertically. Now this one has a slight curve to the back of the letter. That's the character of the letter. You don't have to worry about that. But I just wanted to make sure that they were hitting vertically. They are. This is very nice. And actually,
thank you.
Fit all in window. Most of these really work well. I think your weakest ones are, unfortunately, your bank ones. They're the weakest ones. The other ones show, I think, a little bit more creativity and a little bit more interest to the actual approach used with the letters, where the B&Ls are a little bit more typical, you know.
Well, banks are kind of boring anyway.
What?
I said banks are kind of boring anyway.
Yeah, yeah, and that, you know, but again, you still have to think in terms of creating a logo. You know, I guess that's really what it comes down to. You have to create a logo, and you can't have a boring logo because then you're going to be thought of as a boring designer, and that's not good. So even though it's boring, you have to somehow or other find a way to overcome that, you know?
Right.
So, yeah, okay. So that's very good. Very good. Now let's see what we got here. Let's get rid of that one and save it. Yes, I'll save it that way. Okay, that's mine. Okay, this is Sherry. This is you, Sherry. You are here tonight.
Yeah.
Okay, Sherry, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I believe that originally you were the one that submitted the colors and the graphic shapes, correct?
I don't have any graphic shapes, I don't think.
Yeah, I think originally you had some graphic shapes along with the colors as well, didn't you?
Oh, yeah, because I had a box around that.
Yeah. So ultimately, you have corrected this, and what you've done, the only thing that you have here is one of them, the BNL, still has a color outline around it, and I would prefer that that not be there. It should be black. So that's the only issue I have with it, was that...
that is black.
Oh, it is really?
Yeah, I swear
It
it's
looks
black.
blue to me. You know, it might be, but it looks blue.
It does look blue, but I swear I changed it to black.
Okay. Well, I don't know. I think didn't I regrade you and give you a full credit for this?
You did.
Yeah.
Thank
And
you.
it was just basically when did you understand my critique of it when you read what I put in?
Yeah.
Yeah. There was nothing unreasonable about it. It was just, you know, basically to tell you that there are certain things we have to avoid doing, right?
Yeah.
Yep, you fixed it and it looks good. So yeah, and again, I think most of what you did here, fairly logical. I like the PC. The PC is nice. The one with the Gill Sans, the Minion Pro. That also looks like it might be gray. I don't know.
It's not supposed to be.
Oh, it does look gray though. So, but I mean,
It should all be black and white.
it's not that big of a deal. I like your Toscana bistro. I'm wondering if you might have. I'm wondering if you might have tried distorting the letters a little bit, like we did, like Sylvia and I did. If you were to take that T and the B, and if you were to change the feet on the T and the ear or the top on the B, and if you made them a little bit wider so that they weren't so close together, you follow what I'm thinking with this?
Yes.
In other words, if you took this B, let me see if I can get this. Yeah, take that, and if you were to do something where it was maybe even, whoops, you know what the problem is? I haven't got it selected right. Get this selected. There we go. Move this over. So it gets, maybe even make it look sort of like the eye. Give it the weight of an eye. So what we did, I'm going to quickly show you what we did. We took the type tool, or I'm sorry, the pen tool, and the pen tool has in it an add anchor point tool. And what I did was I came in here and I added an anchor point there.
Mm-hmm.
And then I used the direct selection tool, and I clicked on that point, and I held down the shift key, and I clicked on that point. And then I just used my left arrow to arrow that over until it ran into the T. See what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And then I can do the same thing down here where I come over and I grab the add anchor point tool, and I can add an anchor point there. Whoop, I didn't get it. Click on it right there. Oh, hold on, you know what? I got a better idea. Let me select it first. Let me get it selected. Okay, now there it is. One's on there already. And I'll grab this and put one here. Right about there. Fine. Okay, and I'll do the same thing. I'll get the direct selection tool. And you know the difference between these tools, right? The direct selection tool, you know what add anchor point tool, what I'm doing, right, Sherry?
Yes.
So now I'm going to click on that point right there, the end point, shift, click on the bottom. You have to do both at the same time.
Okay.
And then you're just going to right arrow it over, and now you've created a interesting ligature, which if you go view, fit, artboard, and window, you see how it looks a little bit nicer now, because instead of strangling it, you've actually given a little bit of breathing space. When I say strangling it, you had the T and the B were like right up nose to nose, and it was an uncomfortable relationship. If you wanted to spend the time and effort, you could even go in and modify the top part of the T. You could make it a little bit taller if you want, the same way, by adding a couple of anchor points right at the neck of the T, and then just selecting the whole top of the T and up arrowing it a few points to bring it up. I'm not going to bother doing that because I honestly think that you got something pretty nice here as it is. Maybe what you might want to do is you might want to just try one thing, and that would be to take this thing and click on this and just bring it up a tiny bit. Let's see if that helps. Yeah, that might be a little bit better. Yeah, you don't want to get things too close to one another.
Okay.
All right, now obviously there's not enough going on with this one, and it certainly isn't as nice.
It's different than what's on my paper.
Oh yeah, what is it, touching, or what's going on with it on your paper? What does it do on your paper?
They are touching.
Oh, they touch.
Yeah.
All right, I'm not sure why it's not, but you're saying it's like that? Something like that?
Something sort of like that, but
Okay.
it doesn't look the same.
Mm.
That looks boring to me, and yeah, it just looks like letters thrown on the page, and I didn't do any of just throwing it on the page.
Right. All right. Well, I like where you're going. I like where you're going with this very much. This is interesting. I like what you're going with this. I have a bit of a problem with the B and the L reversed like that, but it works. I think you could probably get away with it. I don't know what it would look like. Let's see what it would look like if you did this. Let's go reflect. Let's reflect it along the vertical axis, I think. Yeah. Hit okay. Yeah. What do you think about that?
I like it.
That might be a logical way to go. I think actually for some reason the bank wants to be facing in the right direction.
Yeah.
At least it does for me. I think for some weird reason I feel less uncomfortable, and I wanted to move that down a little bit. That's a little bit better. It was just up a tiny bit. For some reason, having the B in that position seems to want to work better for me.
Yeah.
So this isn't so bad, and I do like this. I think you did a good job here. I think this has got potential. I just don't know that you're there yet. And actually, I kind of like this. I think this might be okay as a solution. And the JS is kind of interesting. This is kind of nice. This okay, but you know, it's very unjumping spider toy story. You know what I mean? It's just the other one is a little bit more fun. I guess that's what it is. So you got a few in here that have potential. You certainly have enough to get you 3 to put into your advanced critique this week. And I would say you're in good shape. So what do you think? You okay with that?
I am.
Anything you need to ask me or want to ask me, or?
Well, I did want to ask you about embedding them in my post.
All right. So to embed them in your post, what you have to do is you have to go into settings. See, I'm an instructor, so I do it differently. Student view. See if I can get student view. Come on. All right, let's go into, geez, where are you? Boy, grades home.
It's actually an account, I believe.
What?
You have to go into account, where account is.
Where is account? I didn't even see it.
Where you're in the red.
Where?
Where it says like dashboard, courses, calendar, inbox. You have to go to your account and add it.
I'm still confused. Where are you telling me?
It says, hi, this course. Is that what you mean?
Where you have dashboard, courses, calendar, inbox, you have to go to your account name.
I'm
Other side.
here? Oh, account. I'm sorry. Yeah. Okay, files. There you go. Okay, dumb.
There's files.
Yeah, see, I don't do this. I don't normally do this. Okay, so that's what you're doing. You're going to account, And then you're going to go in and you're going to go upload. You go to files and then you upload.
Right.
So ultimately, you'll just click upload and then you will browse, okay, and you will find your file. And then you will select it and you will upload it.
Correct.
And if you want, you can create a folder. That's what I would generally do. You have my files here. See, when you open this up, it just says my files.
Mm-hmm.
What I generally try to do is I generally try to put a folder in there, and I call it images. Images. So now I have a folder called images, and I try to upload into my image folder. But you know what? If you don't do that and you upload it into my files, there's nothing in here on mine. You'll be able to put it in there as well. But I generally put it in images, and I just threw that away. Okay? So this is my files. It's empty. That's all you got to do that. It's not really that difficult to do. And as I say, you have to excuse me for being clumsy with this. I don't do it. I do it a totally different way since I'm an instructor. And
At least now I know how.
yeah, it's not hard to do. Now, the one thing is, you've probably never done it before since you didn't know how to do it, right?
Right.
Okay, here's the one thing I want to tell you. Make sure that you upload it as a JPEG.
Okay.
Yeah, you're going to upload these as JPEGs or PNGs. I believe those are the two specified. Let's go back for 1 second. Let's go back to account. Let's go to dashboard. Come on. Oh, I don't want student view. How do I get out of student view? I forget how to get out of it. Oh, leave student view. There we go. Yeah, you can see I do this all the time. Okay, so click on this. This is my course. And I'm going to come into announcements. Okay. Mine is completely different the way I go about doing this. I mean, I just don't do it the same way at all. And so this is for the discussion, right? And discussion 2, peer review. There we go. And what it's telling you to do is what? Where are you at?
Post
Where does it say? Oh, here we go. Post a JPEG or a PNG. So you're either going to make a JPEG or a PNG. And what I would do is you might want to make this easy on yourself, guys. Pick your 3. Create a new document. Let me show you how to do this real quick. So you're going to do 3 of these. Let's say I wanted to do this one. Okay. This one. And this one. I'd go edit copy. I'd go file new. Edit paste. Okay. You probably are going to want, you'll probably want to line them up. Something like this. Something like this. Right? About like that's good. And what I would do to help is, and I'm not going to do this because I don't want to spend a whole lot of time, but I would put underneath each one of them the fonts that you used. And I don't know that you really need to say the name of the business because I think everybody's working on the same project. They're going to know that the B and L is the bank, J and S is Jumping Spider, TB is the restaurant, right?
Just put the
Do you guys have any problems knowing what they are?
No.
No. So then what I would do is, and this is something you probably have never done, so let me show you how to do this. Go to the window menu. You're going to open up artboards. So you got your artboard panel open here, okay? And this is something that you should do when you're finalizing a logo anyway. You're going to go to the artboard options, and see where it says presets here? You're going to drop the presets down, and you're going to scroll all the way to the top, and you see what it says right there?
Fit to artboard.
Yeah. So you're going to click on that and hit OK. And you see what I did? I took the artboard and I made the artboard fit the artwork.
Right.
So now instead of having a huge
Please.
JPEG, when I go to export this, I'm going to go File, Save for Web. And I'm just going to save this as a JPEG, right? Hit save. and I'll put it on my desktop. I'm going to call it submission. Okay, hit save. I now have that, which if I go over here and take a look at it, let's go here real quick and see where it is. Watch this, double click on it, there it is. That right there is what you're going to be putting in. Of course, it'll say the name of the fonts that you used, but that's what you're going to be putting into your post. And you see how that's a tiny little graphic?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's not going to be some huge, big graphic. It's going to be a tiny little graphic, and that'll be a nice, efficient little way of putting your graphic into your discussion post and not take up a lot of space and not have something gigantic. So you don't have to have something gigantic. You just need to make something big enough that you get the idea across. Okay?
Okay.
Guys think you could do that all right?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, good. All right, well, let's go back to this for a second. And I'm going to close this and not save it. No. Okay, and let's close that. And no. Okay, so here's my Bank of Lantander. See how I cheated? I used Bank of Lantander. Oh, and by the way, I will allow you, if you want, I will allow you to use Bank of Lantander in your card. Do you know why? Because it's type. I will allow you, and you could do the same thing with the Jumping Spider toy store. I will allow you to add that because it's type. Anything that's type, I will allow. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, but here's where I cheated. I used the graphic shape to create my Bank of Lantander. Now, if I had done something like this, this is the same type, around the same size. This is live type. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to type, create outlines, and now I have outline type. Okay? Now, if I had come in here and if I had made a rectangular shape, like I did here before, and if I had dragged my rectangular shape over like this, like I did before, okay, and then if I had selected all these objects, okay, and if I had aligned them vertically or horizontally on the center, let's move it up a little bit. Okay, so now you see what I got here? I got 3 objects and they're aligned center, and one of them is sort of like splitting the letters. Do you see how it's splitting the letters? See what I'm talking about?
Okay.
Go to the window menu, and if I open up Pathfinder, and if I divide everything up. So now I've divided this whole thing up. Now, if I came in here and if I did something like this, instead of what I did, I come in here, I grab that, I go Object, Ungroup, and I start removing things like that, like this, like this. And this seems nuts, but wait till you see what happens in the end. You'll see what I'm talking about. And remove all this stuff. And you say to yourself, but what did you do? You didn't do anything. Well, I actually did. I split the letters. So I can now come in here and I can grab these letters. Okay, and I didn't really split it right because I can see I missed the end here, but that's okay. This is just a demonstration, so don't worry about it too much. If I do this, I can now move these letters up like that. And I can then take these letters down here and move these parts of the letters down. And now I can go View, Fit Artboard, and Window. And you see what I did? I created an interesting logo look. And somebody would say, but Bill, you used graphics. Well, you guys saw me do it. Did I use any graphics in there?
No.
No. You know why? Because the actual graphic was removed. I used the graphic to split the letters. That's what I used the graphic for, to split the letters. That's allowed. Because if you look at what's sitting there right now, you're looking at nothing but letter, right? Those elements that are created there, even though there's a gap, those pieces that are hanging off the top and bottom are letters, aren't they?
Yeah.
Or at least they're part of the letter that I trimmed up. So you see, all that's legal. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to get you to avoid doing things like violating the terms of this by utilizing shapes. I did it here because I'm an instructor and I'm cheap, but you shouldn't do that, okay? So now let's go to the Lantander invitation. So let's go View, zoom out. So let's make this little Lantander invitation, and you can see how I did this. I'm going to go File, New, and I'm going to call this Invite 2. Okay. And I'm going to create one artboard. You only need to do one side here. This is set to points. I'm going to set it to inches to make it easier. And I'm going to show you that the width on this is 11 inches. That's not correct. The width will be 8.5, right? And the height will be 5.5. Right. So that means that it's the actual width of a normal 8.5 by 11 and half the height of an 8.5 by 11. That's what it is. And I'm going to hit OK. Don't worry about bleeding the tops, bottom, left, and right. This is just a mock-up. So, and also make sure that you're reading landscape. Okay?
Okay.
Yeah. Hit OK. All right. So there's my card. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back here to my Lantander mark. And you know what? So that I don't cheat, I'm going to actually use this one instead. And I think I'm going to narrow this down just a little bit. I don't really like this design all that much, but I'm trying to not cheat. So I'm going to use this instead because I can accomplish the same thing. So I'm going to select my logo. I'm going to go Edit, Copy. And I'm going to come into Bank of Lantander. Look, wrong one. Where are we at here? Invite 2. There we go. And go Edit, Paste. Okay, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this thing down and...
Sorry.
Okay. So now I have my logo placed in here, okay? So there's my logo. Now, the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to save some trouble here. So I'm going to come back in here and I'm going to grab this. Let me just grab one of those. Click on that and go Edit, Copy. And then come into my invite, and I'm going to go Edit, Paste. There. Okay, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the color going here by clicking on that and using the eyedropper tool and click on that. And then I'm going to click on this, and I'm going to get the eyedropper tool, and I'm going to click on that. And now I have the BNL started. I can delete this. And I also have, let's go to the window menu. This is something I think is very important for you to see me do. Let's go to the swatches. I work with Illustrator constantly. One of the things that I find very helpful is to do what I'm about to do. I come up to the drop-down menu and I go select all unused and I hit the garbage can and I throw them all away because I don't want any of them. I want to create my own colors. So what I'm left with is white and black and then any colors that I put in here. This fill color is my color that I created, my gradient that I created. I'm going to drag that in there. Double click on it, and I'm going to call it Bank Gradient. Okay? Bank Gradient. Now, if I double click on this guy here, let me actually, let's go, let me select it, and let's go Window. Gradient. Where are we at here? Gradient. Here we go. Okay. Really, all this is it's a gradient made out of this yellow color and this green color. That's really all it is. And I have it going in a specific direction, which is basically, I think it's -90. That's exactly what it is. Okay. So there it is. Now I also noticed that there's this little piece here that I didn't get thrown away. So let me delete that and throw it away. I can just grab it, delete. And there looks still like there's still another little black piece. Let me get rid of that as well. And delete that. Oh, there's my dog. He's wrecking the place. You did our board window. All right, so there you have it. There's my logo. Okay, now as I said to you, you can come in here, and I believe I'm using Clarendon for this. So I'm going to select Clarendon. Again, I'm going to cheat a little bit. I'm going to click on this and copy it, edit, copy, and then come back here. Oh, wrong one. And you know what? This was it. Sherry, this was your first submission.
Yeah.
Okay. I forgot I even had it out. Let's get rid of that. Okay, so let's find my invite and let's go edit paste. There we go. And what I'm going to do here is, if you take a look at my Bank of Lantander, that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to set this to be Bank of Lantander. So I'll come in here and I'm going to set this to be Bank of, and then I'm going to duplicate it. And Lantander, Bank of Lantander. There we go. And I'm going to bring it down here, and I'm going to try to get it to where it sort of lines up with that. About like that. It really doesn't like doing this, does it? Eesh. Probably better off to do it by reducing the size. Let me try it one more time, see if I can get it. If I could just get it. It's close enough. Yeah, I don't need it to be perfect. Bring this down like this. There we go. And this size here is, let's see exactly how I did this. So I actually have the bank of the right size. Yeah, I have the bank of the right size. So this would be, let's see what font size this is. Let's go to character, and let's see, that's 29. Let's make it 30. There we go. So it's 30. That's pretty good. And let's set this to be 30. So we'll come back here and make this 30. 36. 30. There. Okay, so now I have Bank of Lantander. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to select all of this. And I don't want to get all of this. I want to get that. Oh, man, this is hard. Get rid of that. There we go. Okay, I want to go Object Group. The reason I want to do that is I want to select all this, and I want to align them to the middle. There we go. And now I have my logo. The only thing I would want to do with this is I would want to make this black, probably. So I'll make it black. Hit OK. And make that black. Come on. There we go. Black. Good. Okay, that'll work. That's close enough for me for the time being. So here's my logo, okay? It looks like crap, but hey, what are you going to do? So do you guys know how to create a gradient?
Yes.
Okay. No problem. Sherry, you guys both are good with it?
I'm good.
Okay. So the other thing that I did then, if you go back and take a look at my original, I'm going to close this because I don't need this anymore, I don't think. Yeah, let me say yes on that for now. Okay, and this is the one that I want you to look at. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add my color to this. So the other thing that I want to do here is I want to get the color for the text up here. So let me copy this and go back into my invite, and let's go edit paste. Okay, so there's my green. And I'm just going to grab that green and put it in there. I'm cheating a lot because I just want to get this done, make sure I have enough time to get this done. All right, so now I got my green. Now, again, do you need to use two color greens like this? No, you can use whatever color you want. It's totally up to you. I just want you to design your own card, whatever you want to do. Okay, now what I did was I set the text up here. You are cordially invited. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up there and I'm going to type in one line, you are cordially invited. And this is the same font as what I'm using for Bank of Lantander. Okay, so you see how I quickly just grabbed that font? Now I'm going to move it over to about here. Now, one very important thing for you to remember, from a creative standpoint, you're going to want to make sure that you have gutters. You know what gutters are, right? Margins, areas that keep you from going too close to the edge, the trim edge. So I'm making sure that I got a nice amount of gutter here. I'm not measuring it, I'm just letting it happen. but I'm just advising you to make sure that you don't put you make sure you give yourself enough gutter. And now I'm going to come in here to character, and I'm just going to start bringing this up until it reaches a point where I'm good with it, which is about there. Okay, that's probably pretty good. I will then come in and grab the color that I'm looking for, which is that green, and now that's set to that green. Real simple, right? I don't know whether I spelled cordially correct or not, but I'll do the checking of the type later on. The other thing you might want to also do is, I've got this set aligned to artboard now. I'm going to click on this, and it's centered that line of text right up there. Okay? So now I got my "You are cordially invited" Bank of Lantander logo. So I'm halfway done with my card. I got to put my copy in here, and I have to put my gradient down the bottom. To do the gradient, all I'm going to do is I'm going to come in and I'm going to go about halfway up, somewhere in that neighborhood, right about there, and I'm going to create a shape like this, which I am going to apply the gradient to. Okay? And then I'm going to go to Window, Gradient. Let's open the gradient up. I don't know whether I even have it out yet. I don't. And I'm going to change that to -90. And I get that. I'm going to go Object, Arrange, Send to Back. And I get that. Doesn't look particularly good, does it? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this guy here, and I'm going to drag this guy over here. And then I'm going to drag an alternate alt drag or option drag and create another one over there. So now I have this green over here somewhere close to the middle, and I have this one over here which I'm going to select, and I'm going to make that disappear. Opacity, set it to 0. Do you understand what I did?
Yes.
Do you?
Yes.
By dragging the opacity to, and I can even, if I wanted to, I can select this. I can even drag this over a little bit more, and I can make it fade a little bit more. So now what I've done is I've made this stand off of it. This is actually transparent, and it gradually fades into that color right there, which then gradually fades into that. And I get this wonderful sort of like misty, grassy kind of look. And again, these colors in my mind are very appropriate for what we're doing, which is a bank thing, you know. Now, I go to my course file here, and let's go to my assignment, because I have to grab the text. Go to the assignments. And come on. Assignment 2. And I'm going to come down here, and I'm going to grab the text. Let's see, is that all of it? Yeah, it is. I'm going to grab all this and copy it. And then I'm going to come in here, and I'm going to grab my rectangle tool, and I'm going to make a shape, a rectangular shape. That's if it'll let me. Somewhere in the neighborhood of that, right about like that. Make it a little bit bigger. Now, this is where the 70 to 90 character limit comes in. In this particular case, though, I'm not doing it that way. I'm actually, what I'm doing here is I'm just kind of winging it. I'm putting a box in approximately the size that I want. I'm guessing that I want to fill this much space with that copy. So now I'm going to get my type tool, and I'm going to come in here and click on that, and now it sets that box, makes that into a text frame. Did you know that you could do that, right?
I did not know. That's
Yeah,
cool.
so it's the same kind of thing in Adobe InDesign. If you're familiar with InDesign, when you're in InDesign, you can create any kind of a frame that you want. There's 2 different frame boxes. One is an X-less frame, and the other has the X through the middle. But they're both basically graphic shapes that you can create and turn into text frames at any time you want. You can do the same thing with this. You can actually take the type tool and attach the type tool to that frame. So I'm going to come to this, and I'm going to say I want this to be no bigger than, say, let's try 14 point to begin with. Let's see what that looks like. 14 over 18. I don't know whether that's going to work well or not, but we're going to find out. I'm going to go Control V. And there you go. You can see already that it didn't work very well. You see how it's gone too deep? Mm-hmm. So I'm going to click on this, and I'm going to go Control A, and hopefully I've got it all selected. And I'm going to come back into the character, and I'm going to knock it down to 12. And that, I think, is much better. 12. There we go. Actually, I'm going to modify this. So let's see. What I think I'm going to do is, so let's fix this first. You are cordially invited to the grand opening of our new branch. Okay. Location. I'm going to call this Newark. Newark. Come celebrate with us a live concert from Christina Aguilera at one of our 2 seated dinner parties. Now I'm going to hit enter, and I'm going to, it's Friday, September 16th at 5:30 p.m. And I'm going to go in front of Friday, and I'm going to hit enter. Friday, September 23rd at 5:30 p.m. I'm going to hit enter, call, and then extension to reserve your seats, enter, and here's where I run into a problem. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this text right here and come back up to character, and I'm going to make it 10 point. Let's try 10 point. Yeah, that's much better. And this down here must be 21 or older. Seating is limited. Management reserves rights to cancel or modify this event at any time. That's legal copy. So what I would do with that is I would make that small. I would come down here and I would make that like maybe 8 point, or let's make it, I probably want to make it tighter too. Let's go 8/10. 8/10. Okay, so that's the leading. That's the leading thing. When we're dealing with something like this, we're dealing with leading. So here what I'm going to do is, you can see that I've got these lines here. This is probably too wide. So let's go in and fix the leading on that. Come in here and let's make the leading say 10/14. Let's try 14. Much better. Now, what you see is I've got, let's just quickly look and see what we got so far. So I got 10/14. You guys understand what I'm doing here? I'm actually coming in and I'm playing around with the fonts. I'm playing around with the size of the font, the leading, and if you take a look at this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. 4, 5, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'd say probably around 60, 50, about somewhere 50, between 50 and 60 letters per line that I did here.
And you're counting the spaces too, right?
Yeah, so I count the spaces too. Now, the point of me doing this is, if I were to stretch that line of copy all the way across the page, your eye would be tired going that long distance following that line, and before you got done reading the copy, you'd be pretty annoyed. It's a very subliminal thing, but because the width is so long, it would annoy you, it would bother you. And that's the reason that we set these line widths smaller, because the people who read these things are much more prone to feel comfortable reading a line length or a column length such as that. Does that make sense to you?
Yes.
And that's why I make a point of saying to you, as graphic designers, you need to think about these things. When you design things, you need to think about how you size things and how you set things up. So, okay, so now I got a block of copy here. I have these 3 lines right here, which I probably want to make a little bit bigger because those are my dates. Now they are bigger, but I might make them a little bit bigger, like about like that, 14, and it's set over 18. Now this line here, what I would do is I would maybe set that over, let's try bringing that down to 17, 16, 15, 14. Let's go 14. So that tightens that line up a little bit, but I need to put space between the your seats and the you must be 21 years or older. Now, I could do this, and that would be incorrect. Did you see what I did? I put the cursor there and put an enter or a space, a return. Mm-hmm. It's not the way you do it. Go backspace, what you want to do is you want to click in that line, and you want to go to paragraph, and you want to choose space after paragraph, and you want to add your point like that. You see what I'm doing?
Yeah.
Oh.
I'm moving it down using space after. And when I get it to where I want it, I stop. Now I also want to add some space after here. So I'm going to select that paragraph, and I'm going to add some space after there as well. Why? Because I want to bring that Friday, September 13th or whatever, September, I want this to separate some so that this stands apart from that. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Now these lines here, what I may end up doing with this is I may end up coming into character, and I may end up opening up the line spacing on those lines a little bit more as well, because I think I kind of want them to be a little bit bigger. Now, since I did that, I see it also affected here. So I probably am going to want to come back in and adjust the paragraph spacing down a little tiny bit so it isn't quite as far. And then if I want, I could come in here and select all this and go to character, and I can take a look and see whether Clarendon, and unfortunately Clarendon is only available to me in medium. So if I wanted to make this bolder, I would have to go in and change the font to it. I don't think I'm going to do that because I think I've actually covered my bases pretty well by creating my mark over here. This is nice and big and bold, and that's what you want. You want that cordially invited to be pretty big. So I put that up at the top. This copy shouldn't be really big, but it should be balanced well with the rest of the copy. This copy here is sort of like legal information, so I would make it a little bit smaller. And then again, these are your dates. I want to separate them some, and I want to make them a little bit bolder. So I did that. So there's my card, and you can take a look. It isn't really too far off of that card. See what I mean? It's not too far off of it. It's similar. That's basically what I want you to do. Now, if you want to, you can lock this. You can go Object, Lock, Selection, and you can select all this stuff, and you can see whether or not you can maybe bring it down into the card a little more so that it appears centered on the card a little better. And because this copy down here is not hitting in a dark green area, we don't have too much of a problem with contrast. You know, the graphic, we have graphic contrast is one of the graphic elements that you have to concern yourself with. So if that was like dark green there and that copy was black over top of it, I might want to change it to white. But in this particular case, there's plenty of contrast between the lettering, and the size is good. So there's my card. That's essentially what you're going to do and submit to me. And as you can see, I didn't use one graphic on it, did I? I didn't even use a rule, did I? No. Now, you could if you want, but I'm going to be totally honest with you. When you're dealing with something like an invitation like this, and especially for a bank, in my mind, it doesn't seem too ridiculous to think that a bank would have a very simple, clean, very corporate-looking card like this. So the only other thing that you might want to do down in the bottom area here, if you want, is you could make up an address for the Bank of Lantander, and you could also include a website if you want. It doesn't tell you you have to do that, but you could. So what do you guys think? Do you think you can pull something like this off? And I don't want you to just go in and copy what I did. I'm not saying that you need to do that. This is a demonstration of how to build something. This is what you're going to be doing. So it's a demonstration of what you're going to be building. Okay?
Okay.
Any problems? You see any problems with it?
No.
No?
No.
I think it's easy enough.
What?
I think it's easy enough.
Yeah. Now, the other thing I wanted to do very quickly was I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about this. This is, I wanted to show you this very quickly. This is I believe it's Times, what is it? It's Times New Roman Regular. This is Times New Roman Bold. And this is Futura Bold. Last week in our discussion, we were talking about headline type and body type. So if you take a look at this, this is what a regular Times New Roman would look like set at 72 point. 72 point might be the size of a big headline on a newspaper. I'm not saying it would have to be 72 point, but it would be in the range of 72 point. So you could see that in reality, this, which is really Times New Roman, which is body copy, could be used, right? Look at it. Does it look like it could be used as a headline for a newspaper at that size? What do you think? Maybe it could?
It possibly could, yeah.
Yeah, but can you see that the way the bold comes off just a little bit heavier and more pronounced?
Yeah, and the leading is a little bit better.
Well, I don't have any leading on here. These are just little.
Well, I mean, just
you mean you're talking about the kerning?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I haven't kerned it either. I'm not that. This is only just quickly to talk to you a little bit about line spacing, leading, and stuff.
One.
Yeah, I actually did this already in the other exercise. Yeah, I just wanted to point out that here's what 72 point of a sans serif headline would look. And this is what a serif headline would look. And then if you come into the copy here, this is what the copy would look like. And what we're talking about is we're talking about the character width of the column.
Wow.
And the leading is the line spacing. Leading and line height, leading and line spacing all mean the same thing. So if you have some bozo like me come and say to you, adjust the leading of your copy, you're going to know that it's line height, or what? Leading, line height. Remember what the third one was? No? Leading, line height, and now I forgot what it was. Now I forgot what I said what it was. But at any rate, it's...
I think I just got myself confused.
No, well, leading, line height, and line spacing. That's what it is. Line spacing, the spacing between lines. Line height is the spacing between lines, and leading, the spacing between lines. They all essentially mean the same thing. In this particular case, it's all, I believe this is 12.10 on 18. 10 on 18. Now, that means that it's like 10, I think that would be 10 over 40%, something like that, because I think it would be 20% would be 10 over 12. So it would actually be 60%, something like that. But at any rate, this is 12, this was 10 over 18.
Yeah.
And here on this one, it was 10 over 12. And then this is 10 over 18, okay? So you can see that there's a significant difference between 10 over 12 and 10 over 18. 10 over 18, I think, is probably a little bit much, but you can see it is a little bit easier to read that, isn't it, than at that size, 10 over 12. What do you think?
I would not be able to read the 10 over 12.
It would be uncomfortable. You'd be able to do it because but it would be uncomfortable to read at that size. While if it's open to 18, it's looser and a little easier to read. It might be a little too loose, but it's easier to read. So I just want to quickly show you that. Now, the last thing I want to show you before we're done tonight is, let me come in here and get my, this is the final thing that I just want to go over with you. And again, this is no big deal. I just want to open this up. This is my research that I did on Bodoni. Okay, so what I did essentially was I went in and I looked up Bodoni, and this is the information that I found on Bodoni. What to use Bodoni for, the history of Bodoni. It tells you who made it. The reason I got this grayed out is because I actually started building my 2-page ad, and those are the areas of copy that I had blacked out. And I'll be totally honest with you, I don't even think I have enough information on this. I think I actually have to go back in and grab some more stuff. I don't think I have enough copy. You have a certain limitation to the amount of copy that you have to submit for yours. But I just wanted to give you a quick idea, and also notice that I have some sources down here that I've listed, and I've also I haven't done it yet, but I'd also title this. So think about it in terms of title. Think about it in terms of your content. What is it you're going to do? As far as it, I was thinking what I would do, and I copied this as a reference for me. I was thinking I would show some sort of presentation of a couple of different faces from within the font family Bodoni. So that's how I was going to do this. So that's what you got to do for your assessment. You're going to put this together, probably with more copy than what I got, but it will look something similar to that. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty much done for the night. I'll answer any questions that you have for me.
Don't have any questions.
You're good?
Yep.
Okay. So then I will end our discussion for tonight. Let me come in here and I will stop recording.